And welcome back to yet another episode of Dogs on the Couch, where everybody's allowed to have an opinion. It does not matter if you played the game, you were watching. So you're allowed to have an opinion as well. Please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Please subscribe. Helps with the algorithm, also helps with the growth of the channel. We would love to be able to spread this football 101 information to the uninformed Browns fans, as well as the flip-floppy Browns media, the people who like to run with the narratives instead of doing their own research and forming their own opinions. This channel is for us. So, as I said in the previous video, I would like to dive a little bit deeper into more contradictions by our Browns media about the quarterbacks, coaches, everything, as well as addressing Myles Garrett's recent comments about how he feels about his future with or without the Cleveland Browns organization. I believe first what I'll do is I'll start off with my favorite guy, Quincy Carrier, that when it was Deshaun Watson, he was the pile on king. Okay. Just piling on about how bad Deshaun Watson is. Just how bad. Oh, he's so bad. He's bad. He's terrible. He'll never play in the NFL again. He's not an NFL quarterback. He's terrible. Can't see anything on the field. Scared to throw the ball. Then when he does, he can't throw. His arm's a noodle. He's just terrible. He's terrible. He's cooked. He's washed. He's cooked. You know what I'm saying? We got to swap out the quarterback. Everything's his fault. If we just swap the quarterback, we'll be a winning team. But then now that it's pretty clear the quarterback is not the main issue for the Cleveland Browns. Because if it was, well, we had two other opportunities at quarterback to look significantly better. Because if we're so bad just because of the quarterback, well, when you swap the quarterback out, everything should look significantly better. Not just a little bit. It should look significantly better. Well, that happened for all of 1, maybe 2 weeks. We looked significantly better. The other 5, 6 weeks, we looked just as bad as we did with Deshaun Watson in there at quarterback. We looked just as bad, if not worse, because at least Deshaun Watson wasn't throwing 2 and 3 interceptions every game. Because in a couple of these games, especially these last 2 against the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals, if we had had Deshaun Watson at quarterback, I think we probably would have won those games. Just based on the fact that he wouldn't have been throwing interceptions. And then compounded it with fumbling the ball as well. Throwing interceptions and fumbling. Like, at least I know he would have been throwing no interceptions, so, we would have had maybe a better chance. Now, the kicker probably would have still been missing field goals. Like, if we, necessarily couldn't score a touchdown, we had to kick a field goal, kicker probably still missed field goals. That's why I say maybe. It was just maybe a chance, maybe a long shot. But when you're throwing 2 and 3 interceptions every game, chances are you're going to lose. Like, that's and then got to come here in the press conference, hear the coach talk. Well, I'm preaching, stop turning the ball up. Yeah, but it keeps happening. The same way that you talk about the penalties and you want to cut that down, but it keeps happening. So whatever you're doing to try to fix it, it's not working. So I can't just blame the quarterback, but that's what we were doing. That's what Quincy Carrier was doing. Nobody had a problem with doing it. It was the cool thing to do. It was the it thing to do. Let's just pile on to Deshaun Watson because it's all his fault. But now that we've got a taste of 2 other quarterbacks and everything is exactly the same as it was before, now we finna hear one of the main people who was piling on, say he don't want to pile on the quarterbacks anymore. Why not? Let's listen to him.
At any level. We know what Dorian is. Dorian is a quarterback who just is not ready for a starting role in the NFL and probably not ready for a backup role. And that's the case with him. I don't want to pile on. I know whenever a quarterback plays bad in Cleveland, we're going to call him all types of names and say that he's the trashiest quarterback to ever play. I've had my fill of pile-ons in all of that, and half the time the pile-on be wrong. So, whatever.
You've had your fill of the pile-ons now? That's because Jameis Winston turned out not to be the guy, and DTR turned out to be exactly what I said he is, which is a mobile guy who's also a turnover machine, just like Jameis Winston was. So the best part about DTR is his legs. He's mobile, but you can't run quarterback draw every play. It won't work. Not every play. You can't do that. And then when you ask DTR to throw the ball, he's an interception machine, just like Jameis Winston. He's an interception machine. That's what he is. So he can run around and scramble real good and throw interceptions. That's what he does. And I said that before. I was like, look, I understand it's been limited play or whatever, limited play, but in my thing, I can use that as a double-edged sword. If I'm saying, well, I can't really judge you because you have limited play, so at the same breath, I'm looking like, bro, you got limited play and you got no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. How you got 3 interceptions already in limited play? And you got 3 interceptions, no touchdowns this year. You got 3 interceptions already? How? That's concerning to me. And then lo and behold, with a full week of preparation, because before when we was putting him out there, you got to ask the coaching staff why they was doing this. Before when we was putting DTR out there, the coaching staff would go to DTR on Saturday and be like, yeah, you starting, you going to play Sunday. I know we wasn't giving you the proper reps with the ones and all that other stuff, but you're going to go out there and you're going to play on Sunday. What? He might have found out 90 minutes before the game started. One of the times that he went, he might have found out 90 minutes before the game started. Hey, yeah, you know what? We think you probably gonna go ahead and start this guy. What? So this particular time, with a full week of preparation and him having all the reps with the ones, and we know that you starting, you know that you starting, ain't no confusion. What ended up happening? Scramble plays and interceptions. That's what ended up happening. The exact same thing that was happening before when he didn't have a full week of preparation and all this other stuff and blah-blah-blah-blah skip. Same thing. So the guy's been what he's been the entire time in the limited sample size, as well as when you give him a full week's preparation, et cetera, et cetera. You're pretty much still getting the same thing that you were getting when Deshaun Watson was your quarterback. So now we'll kind of get into what Quincy loves to do. He loves to find positives in every quarterback that isn't named Deshaun Watson. He'll find a positive about you and try to talk about that. Here's where he tries to talk about how they were using him more in the RPO fashion, and this is where they were having success. And I can see where the offense, would kind of could have success with this style. Now, mind you, when Deshaun Watson was the quarterback, he wasn't saying that. It was, you need to be able to make these kinds of throws in this Kevin Stefanski offense. You need to be able to be on time and on target with the ball. That's what needs to happen. But the instant the DTR get in there, it's, a lot of this running stuff, we're more run generated. I like that. I think I could see a path where we're a playoff team next year with that. What? Why you weren't saying that for Watson then, bruh? Why you weren't saying that for him? Let's listen to it.
What the Browns did in the second half that I thought was pretty good. They started playing him more like a run-pass option quarterback, an RPO quarterback, and they started running him a lot more. That's when he started to have a lot more success. And I think that's an area, if you're the Cleveland Browns and you want to bring in Justin Fields, where you could see having success there, right? Or you're the Cleveland Browns and you want to draft in the second or third round Jalen Milroe, or maybe in round 4 or later Riley Leonard, where you could potentially see some success getting a bigger body, because just DTR's not big enough to play that style that he needs to play, unfortunately. But getting a bigger body in there who can run 10, 15 times a game if you need them to, and can be effective there. I think there's a pathway in this offense for a quarterback like that, right? Like when I was watching them play.
What? Because my thing is this: you are a big Stefanski supporter. You want him back next year. You think he's a great head coach, etc., etc. You think he has his fingerprint on the offense at all times, except for when you want to trash Ken Dorsey. Then when you want to trash Ken Dorsey, you don't want to include Stefanski in that. But when the offense looks good, you want to include Stefanski in that. But when the offense looks bad, oh, it's all Ken Dorsey. Make up your mind. And then, when we talking about the kind of quarterback, well, the kind of quarterback that I guess was supposed to be the most successful with Kevin Stefanski is not a guy who runs around. It's actually a guy who doesn't run at all. Because y'all love the Joe Flacco, Joe Flacco, Joe Flacco. We should have never let Flacco go. Flacco, 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 Flacco. Flacco is not a quarterback who runs around. He never has. Even in his prime, he wasn't running. So how did we, in a short few weeks, just because we saw DTR this week, how did we in a short few weeks we went from Joe Flacco to Jameis Winston, back to Joe Flacco, to Kirk Cousins, to Sam Darnold, all these pocket passing quarterbacks. That's what we've been talking about, because that's what, quote unquote, supposedly fits Stefanski's system. It's the pocket passing quarterback. In fact, he don't know what to do with a running quarterback. Supposedly, that's why we had to go and get Ken Dorsey to try to build up some more RPO stuff. That's why we had to go get him to focus more on the RPO, because that's what Deshaun is supposedly good at, the RPO stuff. So, whereas before, all I've been hearing people say, we need to get back to the under center stuff. That's what we need to be doing. But then after one game with DTR, I could see a pathway, where this could be successful with this offense. I could see a pathway of that. You saying that based off of a half of football against what's renowned as the worst defense in the NFL. What? So you're going to make a future decision, like to go years in the future, because we're talking about what style and what kind of quarterback you're picking here. So this will go years into the future. You making that decision based on what you saw in one half of football against the worst defense in the NFL. Emotional. That's why I say emotional. You just doing emotional talking points. You saying this stuff just because DTR was the last quarterback that you had a chance to see on the field. And because he had a little bit of success running, that's all of a sudden the direction that you want to take the offense in, when that completely contradicts like what Kevin Stefanski does and what he believes in, or his philosophy or whatever, as far as offense goes. Like his offenses have not had running quarterbacks. So if you want to bring Stefanski back as your head coach and still use his offensive philosophies, why on earth would you be saying that you see a potential avenue for success with an offense that highlights a running quarterback? He finna take it a step further, and I finally caught him trying to pin himself to an actual statement. Now, he didn't actually pick a player, but he makes a bold prediction. Let's hear what his bold prediction is.
Here's my bold prediction after watching this game. I think the Browns' next quarterback is going to be somebody we know primarily for their ability to run the football. And if you think about it, it makes sense, right? What do the Browns want out of their offense? They want a slow, sometimes explosive offense that can melt away games in time of possession so they can win games with their defense. What do the Browns have offense?
First of all, I mean, are you the Browns? You for sure that's the kind of offense that they want to run? The style? Because you just said, bold prediction, the next quarterback for the Cleveland Browns will be a guy that's known for using their legs. What? How did you get to that? Oh, I know. You said it initially. It was like, here's my bold prediction after watching this game. So you're reacting emotionally based on what you saw watching this game, not assessing everything in totality. I don't believe you can't be. Because if you are, immediately it would tell you quarterback, run around quarterback does not coincide with Kevin Stefanski or his offensive ideologies. So no, it doesn't make sense. You trying to make it make sense, and it doesn't. Like, it doesn't make sense. That was the same thing that I said in the past video when I'm like, people who throwing Justin Fields' name around. If you throwing Justin Fields' name around, why don't you just keep Deshaun Watson? It's the same style of quarterback. It's the same thing. I've never watched Justin Fields in the NFL and been like, wow, look at that arm. Look at that arm talent. Wow, look at him threading the needle with these throws. No, when you see Justin Fields in the NFL, you're like, wow, look at those legs. Pause. Look at how mobile he is. Look at his athleticism. That's what you say about Justin Fields as a quarterback in the NFL. It ain't got nothing to do with him throwing the ball. Trust me. It ain't got nothing to do with him throwing the ball. Because if it was, he would have never got swapped out for Russell Wilson. Because he was winning games by just running around. But they couldn't throw. And I think Mike Tomlin was like, man, we could really be something this year because we winning games just running around. Imagine if we could actually be able to throw a little bit and keep teams off balance. And lo and behold, they make the swap out at quarterback, and now they're competing for the division, winning the division. That's one where it was like, you swapped the QB, bam, you took off. Not to say that you wasn't okay to begin with, because you was all right to begin with, but you swapped that QB and you took off and never looked back. For us, we swapped QBs, we went up for 1 week, and then we went right back to where we was at. We went right back down into the rabbit hole. So again, I don't understand where this just, it makes so much sense. Oh, I'm going to bold predict that we have a running quarterback. Like, what? How do we go from talking about getting Kirk Cousins because he got the relationship with Stefanski and whoop 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 and the pocket passing and all this other stuff? How do we go from that to predicting that the next Browns quarterback will be a guy who's notable for using his legs? And then get to talk about drafting Jalen Milroe. Man, what? If that's the case, why don't you just do that with Deshaun Watson? Instead of you have been trying to force Deshaun Watson to be this on-time pocket passing quarterback, instead of doing that, the same running around concept, mobile quarterback concept that you want to use with DTR and a possible Jalen Milroe, why y'all didn't just do that with Deshaun Watson when you had him at the beginning of the year? Why you ain't do that? Like, I don't make that make sense to me. You're literally going back to the same brand, the same style of quarterback that you claimed you wanted to get away from, that don't work with Stefanski's offense or his ideologies of offense. Why would you want to go back to that? And not only that, you end up messing up a rookie. You end up messing him up. by putting him in a situation where at this point I don't know what we want to do on offense. Do we want to run a Stefanski offense that's under center, or do we want to run a scramble, run around RPO offense? Which one do we want to do? Pick an identity and stick to it. Which one do we want to do here? So let's listen to him talk a little bit more about this, about how he can honestly see that being successful next year if we do that with the whole heavy run packages with running backs and then a running quarterback as well.
Defensive line, you're going to be giving offenses hell, and it's going to make it a lot easier to win from the quarterback position. And if you get somebody who can run a run-heavy offense, including quarterback run-heavy offense, I can see a pathway for the Browns to be a pretty solid team next year, a playoff team. So that's kind of what I took away from this game.
See, like when you say stuff like that, the people who watching you and, hanging on to your every word, it'll give them the wrong perception. And then they'll take that and they add their own little pieces onto it because they done heard you say that and then go spew that to other people. So I could see a pathway where, they're successful with this and, they'll be a playoff team. I'm sorry, man, but I saw you do that in one half against the Bengals and you didn't, you lost. And that's the worst defense in the league. You lost. So I can't just assume that, with Jalen Milroe, who you want to take in the third round, how do we know Jalen Milroe ain't another DTR? And I don't know. We don't know. But I'm just saying when we talking about style of quarterback, instead of, because truth be told, and I've kind of gone over this, but I'll kind of talk about it a little bit more now. The primary quarterback, suspects in this draft, they're both kind of mobile guys. I ain't gonna say they're just run around quarterbacks. Cam Ward is more of a run around more guy than, I'll say off schedule and more of an off schedule quarterback. Shedeur has mobility, but that's not his strong suit, if you will. The Quinn Ewers has kind of fell back. He may even end up going back to college. We'll see how that ends up working out. So again, if I'm just looking at a Stefanski offense, well, why would I get a Cam Ward or a Shedeur Sanders? And then not only that, I hear Quincy all the time say, Dion doesn't have anything to do with whoever drafts Shedeur, he's gonna go there. He's not gonna turn down, because the money won't be there. Man, listen here, let me explain something to you. As much as I would like that to be the truth, I'm willing to bet a boatload of money that Deion said that if the Browns draft Shedeur, Deion himself will walk up to the podium and be like, oh no, hey, Prime say we ain't going there. Yeah, we ain't going to Cleveland. We'll go to the UFL and then we'll come back, we'll re-enter the draft next year. Or you draft me and you say, and there's no way for me to Eli Manning my way out of it. If it's just no way for me to Eli Manning my way out of it, you know what? I tore something in my rotator cuff. I'm not going to be able to play. Yeah. So you might want to trade me because I tore something in my rotator cuff. If you think that because please believe Deion and Shedeur both saw what's happened with Deshaun Watson while he's been here. Not just Deshaun Watson, but Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Jadeveon Clowney, the list goes on. Of all of the notable players that have been through here, and man, they have had a horrible go around here in Cleveland. And then with the quarterback in specific, they cheering while you get hurt. You tear your Achilles and they cheering, happy that you got hurt. If I'm Dion, I don't want my son anywhere near that garbage. I had to watch Odell daddy share a clip of his son running wide open because they kept talking about his son so crazy. So you think that Dion would allow his son to come to this dumpster fire? Not only that, do you think Shedeur himself would be like, yeah, I want to play for the Browns? No, I don't. So that you could treat me like that? When I'm running this garbage offense, and instead of y'all saying that the offense is just garbage, you're going to blame everything on me. I'm sorry, I don't want to sign up for that. Then if I possibly get hurt, you're going to cheer the fact that I got hurt. I'm not coming there for that. I'm cool. Miss me with that. I'd rather just not play in the NFL at all. If my choices was play in the NFL only for the Browns or not play in the NFL, I'm just not going to play in the NFL then. I'll go to the UFL. I'm not playing for the Browns. Not as long as everything is currently constructed the way that it is. I'm not playing for that. You got to show me something to make me want to play for that. Because it looks terrible, and everybody that comes there and then leaves from there talks about how terrible it is. So why would I want to come there for that? Then in closing, we can get to forget all those past players. You have a current player in Myles Garrett telling you flat out, I'm tired of losing. I love Cleveland. I love being here. I love the love that y'all show me and all this and all that and everything. But check this out. I'm tired of losing. I'm not doing no rebuild. You can rebuild if you want to, but I bet you I won't be here for no rebuild. You're going to have to find you another defensive end because it ain't going to be me. I'm not sitting here through no rebuild. You talking about bringing Kirk Cousins in. Bring Kirk Cousins in here if you want to. And again, that's not that part about Kirk Cousins. Myles ain't saying that. That's me kind of throwing that in there. Because everybody got these opinions of what they think Myles Garrett meant when he was saying that. Some think he was throwing a shot, throwing a dig at Deshaun Watson. Then when they ask him, were you digging at Deshaun Watson? And he say like, well, nah, man, there's not no dig at him. Like, you know what I'm saying? If the dude come back and he healthy, we're going to put our full trust in whoever is up under center. You know what I'm saying? Dude been a great teammate. You know, he's participated in things off the field as well that are important to the guys in the locker room. And then with him saying all that, you even got people saying, I think he was lying when he said that. You don't know whether he's lying or not. Stop trying to get in that man's head. You not him. The only person who knows exactly what he means when he say, I'm tired of losing and you better figure it out because I'm not doing no rebuild. The only person that knows exactly what he means is Myles Garrett himself. Because for all you know, he could be saying, hey, you convinced me that this Watson thing was going to work and we was going to be winners with that. So make it work. Because all this other stuff that you're talking about doing, I'm not with that. So what you sold me on, make that work. And if you can't make that work, I'm out. Trade me to Detroit. It's right up the road. Trade me to Detroit. I'm out. Now, I don't know. It's just all speculation. That's why I'm saying people need to keep their Myles Garrett interpretations. Keep that to yourself, man. You don't know what that man means when he's saying, hey, look, I'm tired of losing. Period, point blank. Tired of losing. I'm doing all this stuff because he made a comment about, I believe it was Lawrence Taylor. He was like, part of the reason we remember Lawrence Taylor is because he was winning. He was playing meaningful football. That's why we remember him as being one of the greats. And that's what Myles want to be. You want to go down and be remembered as one of the greats. And I can't fault him for that. I can't fault him for holding Cleveland feet to the fire. Because in my opinion, because I've danced around it, but I'm going to go ahead and let it out right now. In my opinion, the fix for this entire thing, get rid of the head coach. Get rid of him. We love to preach this continuity, especially Quincy Carroll. Oh my God, continuity, and we can't do the same thing that we've been doing for the last however many years. 2 years and then you fire the coach. 2 years and then you fire the coach. Well, buddy, this ain't that. Stefanski's been the coach for 5 years. 5 years he's been the coach. I've seen him in the 5 years that he's been the coach, we have changed different coordinators because we pointed at them as being the problem. Joe Woods, when he was doing the defense, we said he was trash and that was messing up the team. So we got rid of Joe Woods and then turned around a couple years later, Joe Woods running the defense in New Orleans, and they beat us. Their defense had our offense looking terrible. The same defensive coordinator that you got rid of up under your watch, Stefanski. We got rid of Joe Woods. Got rid of Alex Van Pelt, Stump Mitchell, and Callahan. We got rid of all of them after 11-win season. We got rid of all those. We got rid of those coordinators and other coaches. Excuse me, but mind you, we preaching continuity. We want to keep people together. We can't just keep firing. We can't just keep firing people. But that's 4, maybe 5 coordinators and coaches that I've given since Stefanski has been here that have been fired. So we are firing coaches, just not Stefanski. You know what else I've seen come through here since Stefanski's been? Talent. I've seen buku talent come through here. When Stefanski was gifted this team from Freddie Kitchens, and mind you, Freddie Kitchens was deemed like this just terrible. He was the worst coach ever. But you know what? Freddie Kitchens, what I can't say about Freddie Kitchens did not have a 3-win season. And when Freddie Kitchens was the head coach, we had 2,000-yard receivers and a 1,000-yard running back. When Freddie Kitchens was the head coach, we did not have a 3-win season. We had 2,000-yard receivers and a 1,000-yard running back when Freddie Kitchens was the head coach. But we looked at him and we was like, Freddie, with all this talent, bruh, you can't. Come on, man. With all this talent, you got to do better. You got to do better. You got too much talent on the team. So, boom, we get Stefanski. We hand him all this talent. Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, David Njoku, Kareem Hunt, and Nick Chubb, all on the same offense, all in their primes, all at the same time. You would think, man, listen here, you could hand that roster to a lot of coaches. A lot of coaches, man. A lot of coaches. And if you hand that roster to them, in 5 years, you're not finna be talking about a rebuild again or bridge quarterbacks. Because, mind you, we had Baker Mayfield too on that roster with them. So you had a serviceable quarterback, whether you felt positively about him or negatively, because I didn't like Baker Mayfield. But slowly but surely, once Baker Mayfield was removed from here and we still left with Kevin Stefanski, now in my mind, what I gotta eat crow about, I don't think Baker he wasn't the problem. Because if he was, he would be stinking it up over there in Tampa Bay right now. And he's not. In fact, he's helping keep them alive with playoff chances. I just watched him in this Sunday night game. Man, I forget. It slips my mind. If I think about it enough, I can remember who they were playing. But Baker was playing. He was classic Baker. On one play, I think Baker had ended up throwing the ball, and then the person who caught it, I think they ended up fumbling. Baker run down the field and recover the fumble. I'm like, this is out of this world. Look at Baker go. Look at Baker being Baker. Just doing anything it takes to try to get his team to win. I was like, wow, look at Baker go. And I hated this guy. I hated Baker. I thought he was a garbage can. I hated Baker. And lo and behold, all this time, it might not have been Baker Mayfield. All this time, it was probably Kevin Stefanski making you look like a garbage can. Because I've seen a ton of other quarterbacks that he's had, and they've looked like garbage cans. People always talk about, he had success with P.J. Walker. No, he didn't. Go look at PJ Walker numbers in that 49ers game that we won. His numbers were terrible. We won because we had an elite, like, historical defense. That 2023 Browns defense, last year's defense, historical. Phenomenal defense. That's how we was winning them games. It wasn't because PJ Walker went out there and under Stefanski, he was throwing for 300 and 400 yards and 3 touchdowns with no picks. No. We were still throwing interceptions. We still had lackluster offense. The defense was just so gosh darn amazing that you found your way into some 3-point wins. And some 3 to 5 point wins. And your kicker wasn't missing no kick. He didn't miss a kick. He might have missed 2 all year last year. But all them ones that was like 50 plus or something like that, he made all them. So that wasn't Stefanski and the quarterback play that was getting you them wins. No. That was that defense. That's what that was. That was that defense. And you had a kicker that every time you sent him out there, he made the kick. So that's how you were winning those games. Not because of no daggum PJ Walker. Not because it was Stefanski was getting the best out of PJ Walker. No, he wasn't. And if he's this guru who gets the best out of every quarterback, why he wasn't getting the best out of Deshaun Watson? Why he ain't getting the best out of Jameis Winston? Why he not getting the best out of Dorian Thompson-Robinson? Why? Remember at one point we thought Hugh Jackson was the quarterback whisperer. And he's not, and he wasn't. We deemed him to not be. After he said that Baker Mayfield wasn't ready, and then when Tyrod Taylor got hurt and we was forced to put Baker out there and Baker was balling, everybody looked at Hugh Jackson like, bro, what's wrong with you? You was watching this in practice and saying that Baker not ready? All right, you got to go. You got to get up out of here. So, no, I'm sorry. Stefanski is not some quarterback whisperer. He's not some magician that takes any old quarterback and turns him into a star. That's not true. That is a myth. That's not true. That's a myth. Even with Joe Flacco threw just as many interceptions as Jameis Winston did. Flacco threw just as many interceptions as Jameis Winston did. The main difference is, like I said, last year we had a world beater of a defense. This year, we don't have that. And not only that, for all the Flacco fans, I keep bringing it up all the time. When you needed Flacco and that Stefanski offense the most, what did you get from it? You got 2 pick sixes in the playoff game, and you got to hold that L. And you lost to a first-year head coach and a rookie quarterback. Like, make that make sense to me, man. Where, this guy is he's your answer at the head coaching position. I don't think so. After 5 years, we've seen a boatload of talent come through here and then leave. And then when they all leave, they're always disgruntled. To the point where 5 years after we hand him a Super Bowl contending roster, we handed it to him. Here, you got all the pieces that you could need. Here you go. All you got to do is just coach him. Because we felt the last guy was just so stupid that anybody could do better. So here you go. Coach him. Super Bowl talent. And then 5 years later, we're now questioning, well, do we have enough talent? We need more talent. How? How is that the sentiment 5 years into him being the coach? How are we talking about that? Because in my opinion, what's happened, every time we get like a guy who's a star or a superstar, it only end up working out between them and Stefanski. And then we always pick Stefanski over the star players. And so we just keep picking Stefanski. Whole time we're losing star player after star player after star player after star player. Key contributor after key contributor after key contributor. Only to turn around and then use the excuse as to why we only won 3 games this year when we don't have enough talent on this roster. We don't have enough talent on the offensive line. Looks old. Well, duh. Stefanski has had him for 5 years and been fumbling the bag. 1 year you're up, the next year you're down. Next year you're up, next year you're down. And then on the final run, You so down, you only got 3 wins. Yeah, the offensive line look old. They 5 years older than when you first got them. And you should have been competing for Super Bowls. They 5 years older than when you first got them. That's why I was saying, I was pointed out in a couple of the videos that I've done in the past talking about this. Before Myles Garrett even came out and said anything, I've been saying this. I was like, because I said Quincy Carrier, if you just do this and do that, and then you bridge quarterback, and then, your championship window will still be open in the year 2027. I said, how do you figure that? I said, because that's 3 years away from 2.5, 3 years away from where we are now. I said, Myles Garrett is going to be 3 years older. Denzel Ward going to be 3 years old. Your key pillar post players. What makes you think that they want to sit through that? If I'm Myles Garrett, bruh, I saw the talent that we had on this roster 5 years ago, and I knew we was Super Bowl ready. And you mean to tell me that in 5 years, the only thing we got to show for that is one playoff win and now a possible rebuild or a bridge quarterback? Because in my opinion, if you got to bridge something, you might as well just blow it up. What are you bridging? Especially when you talking about your bridge quarterback being an almost 40-year-old Kirk Cousins, a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers, a one-hit wonder in Sam Darnold. Like, these is the bridge quarterbacks that you talking about. Like, I could see if you was talking about, like, well, Trevor Lawrence could be your bridge, even though Trevor Lawrence has had an abysmal year this year. So I don't even know how high I am on him, but I'm just saying at least he has the youth, a high ceiling. He has potential, those kinds of things. He's not some old, washed-up quarterback like Kirk Cousins and Aaron Rodgers coming off of injuries. But you want to talk about Deshaun Watson and him coming off an injury and why he'll be no good, but then you want to turn around and talk about bringing bridge quarterbacks in that have come off of injuries. This is stupid. This is dumb. This is why the Browns have only won 3 games. Making idiot decisions. Okay? And in my opinion, yet again, because supposedly Haslam has came out and said, and he doubled down on it, that he likes the job that Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski are doing. In my opinion, jury's out on Andrew Berry. Some of the players that he's gotten, I believe they're talented. There are other players that aren't so talented. And then in the mix of it, to muck up the waters even more, some of the players, I can't honestly tell if they talented or not, because Stefanski has this thing where he can't really coach talented players. So we could have a superstar on the team in a person like maybe a Cedric Tillman, but I don't know, because you could be doing the same thing to Cedric Tillman that you did to Odell Beckham. And then now we won't see Cedric Tillman's full potential because he's stuck in this Kevin Stefanski garbage. Preserving Nick Chubb. Oh, we're only going to give him the ball 15 times because we want to preserve his health. And then he ends up getting injured. Back-to-back seasons. He has season-ending injuries. So all that time you was preserving him when you could have just been giving him the ball. I made the mention of the fan in the stands that had the shirt said, "Run the ball, Kevin." When a fan has to tell you to run the ball, when fans have to be like, bruh, we got Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Why are we not running the ball? Or Stefanski, why won't you ever put the both of them in the backfield together at the same time? Why don't you have any plays drawn up where Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are actually both out there at the same time, lined up together? That, I bet you if Sean McVay had both of those guys, he'd have plays drawn up like that. I bet you if Andy Reid had Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, that he would have plays drawn up with both of those guys on the field. I bet you Kyle Shanahan would have plays drawn up with both of those guys on the field. Mike McDaniel over there with Miami, I bet you he'd have plays with both of those guys on the field. But for some odd reason, our super overly smart head coach, Kevin Stefanski, it's something that we've thought about and looked at, but, we're not, for whatever dumb reason you gave, you would never do it. You would never put both of those guys in the backfield at the same time, which would create more confusion with the defense saying, well, gosh, they got Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb back there. We don't know who they're going to hand the ball off to. We don't know. Because they're both top 5 running backs in the league right now. You had buku talent. And then after 5 years that you've been here, we've watched all that talent walk out the door. And what little bit of that talent that we do got left, Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, what's left of Nick Chubb, Myles Garrett telling you, hey, look, I'm tired of losing. You're not finna fleece me. You keep fleecing the Browns fans, but you're not about to fleece me, buddy. If you finna keep doing this same thing that I've been watching for 5 years, when we were supposed to be 5 years ago, we was set. I saw it. And in the 5 years that I've been watching, we've come to this. This is what we've come to. I've watched us underachieve what I feel like we underachieved in a couple situations. And you mean to tell me, owner, you want to keep basically saying, oh, we just about to run everything back. We going to run everything back and run it back with a bridge quarterback with a 39-year-old Kirk Cousins. If I'm Myles Garrett, I'll be like, oh yeah, if that's the plan, I'm leaving. Yeah, if the plan is to run everything back, with everything the same, and we just going to bring in Kirk Cousins and expect stuff to be there, I'm leaving. Don't expect me to be here. And I don't blame them. In my opinion, hey, man, if you don't want to use your pick to get one of those quarterbacks, because you hate Deshaun Watson so much, if you don't want to use one of those picks to get one of those quarterbacks, then I would say go after the Genty and try to get something going on your offensive line. Excuse me. So that way, at least going into next year, bare minimum, you would have a running game. So I wouldn't even, if we're saying that the quarterbacks is that bad and the quarterback draft class isn't providing a prospect that could potentially help give us a quick turnaround, well then let me get my running game together. So that way going into next season, no matter who I have at quarterback, your job at quarterback is just to not turn the ball over. Don't turn the ball over and make this handoff. That's all you got to do. Don't turn the ball over and make sure you put it in the breadbasket for Ashton Genty. That's what we'll do. And then who knows, depending on how you're drafting, depending on where Genty is or what picks you may have, you might be able to finesse a Abdul Carter on defense first and then get Genty with your next pick. Who knows? But as far as the offense goes, if you're not sold on one of the quarterbacks, I would take the running back option and then try to get my offensive line together. Whether it's replacing guys or just adding depth and then seeing who works out the best. Because we tried so long with a guy like a Jedrick Wills, and then we put DeJuan Jones in there for a couple games, and he looked better in them couple games. I'm not saying he was perfect because he had some bad moments too, but point is, overall, he looked better at that left tackle spot in that little small sample size than Jedrick Wills done looked at that spot the entire time he's been here. A lot less holding penalties, a lot less revolving door, a lot less offsides. So in my opinion, that would be the route that I would probably take if I'm not sold on any of these quarterbacks. But I'm for sure not bringing in no Kirk Cousins and trying to run this throwing the ball offense with Kirk Cousins. They don't even want him in Atlanta. And they had just paid him. They just paid him, and they don't want him no more. Like, that's typical Brown stuff. They just paid him, and they don't want him. The Browns, oh, yeah, we'll take him. Perfect bridge quarterback, and he has the relationship with Stefanski. Stop doing all this stuff around Stefanski. At some point, man, you need to separate yourself from that guy. In my opinion, that's your biggest downfall. You're doing all this stuff just to try to center stuff around the head coach, Get rid of the head coach. Bring a coach in where you don't have to have a specific style of quarterback. Bring a coach in where you don't have to be like, well, I mean, we don't know if we should draft that guy because we don't know if he'll fit with Stefanski's offense. That's what I was saying about Andy Reid. Andy Reid is a great schemer. He doesn't necessarily have a quote-unquote system. He schemes stuff up. That's what great head coaches do. Winning head coaches. They scheme stuff up to where it's, hey, let me get this guy and let me scheme some stuff up for him. Not, I have to get a specific player that fits a specific style that does a specific thing, and I have to have this at every position. No, get a coach where you could be like, hey, look, I'm just about to accumulate a whole bunch of talent and give it to you. You do your thing with it. That's the type of head coach you need, where you just say, hey, look, I'm about to accumulate talent and give you the talent. It's your job to scheme up stuff for this talent because this is clear, proven talent. We're not questioning whether these players are they're talented. Odell Beckham's talented. Jarvis Landry's talented. Kareem Hunt's talented. Nick Chubb's talented. Baker Mayfield is talented. I'm finna give you this talent. I need you to scheme some stuff up for it. Not take the talent and say you have to fit into what I'm doing. No. That's not the way it works. Because then that affects the way that you draft. That affects the players that you can and cannot get in free agency. Because you always have to ask yourself, well, does this fit Stefanski's system? Over there in Pittsburgh, what they knew, they like, well, we need a quarterback. Well, check this out. Let's just get Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, and we'll have them compete in a quarterback. We're going to take two quarterbacks that the other people don't want. One of them that everybody's saying is washed, and he's trash, just like they were saying about, that's like they say about Deshaun Watson. He's washed, he's trash. We're going to take him, and we're going to see if we can scheme up some stuff to utilize his talent. They did it both with Justin Fields, because they let him be mobile when they realized he wasn't really too good at throwing. They just said, all right, we're going to stick with you just being mobile, and we'll win games like that. And then if we want to try to do a passing thing, instead of trying to force that on Justin Fields, instead of trying to force him to be this passer, we'll just swap out and let Russell Wilson take a shot at it. Because that's more what he does. Let's scheme up for what the guy does, for what his talent says his talent does. Let's scheme up for that. Instead of saying, well, I know that you're talented at this, but I want you to do something else. Because this is what my system say you're supposed to do. So going forward, we will listen to more of the contradictions of the Browns media. We'll see what direction they're headed in, and we'll also see how true Jimmy Haslam's words are when he says that he's, comfortable with the coach and GM and everything that they're doing, for the Cleveland Browns organization. We'll see going forward. Got 2 more games left this season, and I'm pretty sure they'll look just as abysmal as all the rest. Dogs on the Couch, signing off.